Few people know that excessive walking after the age of 70 can actually speed up the aging process. So, what should you do instead? Long walks without breaks, especially on hard surfaces like asphalt, may not strengthen your health. In fact, they can increase inflammation, cause pain, and accelerate age-related changes. This doesn't mean you should just lie down. It means you should move wisely. There is a gentler, more mindful way to stay active that includes movement, enjoyment, and health. Soon, you'll discover exactly what this path is. Long walks with weakened joints, blood vessels, and an overall decline in recovery functions can lead to fatigue, pain, and inflammation, resulting in accelerated wear and tear on the body. You'll learn 5 important points that anyone over 70 who is trying to walk more should know to maintain their health. Point number 3 will be especially significant. Stay tuned until the end and rate how helpful you found this information from 1 to 10. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Why can excessive walking be harmful after the age of 70? At first glance, it seems that the more you move, the better. Walking 10,000 steps a day is considered the norm, a testament to one's activity and youthful spirit. However, as we age, our bodies start to operate under different rules. What might have strengthened and energized us at 40 or 50 can lead to the opposite outcome after 70: overexertion, inflammation, and fatigue that neither rest nor sleep can alleviate. Walking for long periods on hard surfaces, especially in inappropriate footwear and without breaks, becomes a serious challenge for the joints, which have less cartilage lubrication and a higher risk of micro-injuries. For the blood vessels, which struggle to cope with prolonged strain due to age-related fragility and reduced tone. And for the heart, which has to operate under increased stress for longer than it can handle without consequences. Instead of feeling energized, there's a sense of exhaustion, especially the next day. Your legs feel heavy, you may experience swelling, pain in your knees or lower back, your breathing becomes shallow, and your sleep is restless, or may even vanish entirely. Many people dismiss this as a natural part of aging, but in reality, these are signs that the load on your body has been excessive, even if you didn't notice it right away. Your body sends signals later on through accumulated fatigue and a disruption in recovery rhythms. It's not that walking is harmful. Walking a lot, without considering your own needs, without breaks, and without changing surfaces and shoes, is what leads to the feeling of wear and tear, rather than any real benefit. The most important thing is not to force yourself to meet someone else's standards or compare numbers on a pedometer, but to find a pace at which your body feels revitalized rather than strained. Because staying active after 70 isn't about endurance. It's about a sensible gentleness, self-respect, and understanding that health isn't measured in miles, but in balance. What happens to the body after 70? Why is a different approach needed? After the age of 70, the body undergoes changes that are not just external. The very logic of how it functions changes. The body stops striving for tone at any cost and increasingly shifts into a resource conservation mode. Tissue recovery slows down, joints lose moisture and become less flexible, blood vessels lose elasticity, and bones decrease in density and strength. What was once perceived as a light load or a beneficial jolt can now become a source of stress that the body finds increasingly difficult to handle. While a long walk or an active day used to be followed by a good night's sleep to restore energy, recovery now may take several days, and even then, it doesn't always result in a full return of vitality. Joints become more sensitive to pressure, and during prolonged walking, especially on hard surfaces, there is increased friction, which leads to micro-inflammations that don't resolve quickly but accumulate, provoking chronic pain. Blood vessels respond not to an increase in blood flow, but to changes in pressure. Meanwhile, the heart, forced to work harder for longer periods, loses its rhythm flexibility and begins to stumble even with moderate exertion. At this age, the body requires not just activity, but a precise balance between movement and recovery, tension and rest, and the desire to stay fit versus the reality where overexertion becomes a primary cause of deterioration. Many continue to live by the old adage, "The more I move, the younger I feel." But true youth at this age is not about running. It's about inner resilience, being pain-free, and waking up in the morning with ease rather than feeling like you've been shaken to your core. This is why it's especially important now to shift from the principle of more and longer to one of smarter and gentler. This isn't a sign of weakness or a rejection of activity. Instead, it's a mature form of self-care, where movement remains part of life but ceases to be a race. Why is it important to keep moving, but in a different way? When a person experiences pain after walking, along with heaviness in the legs and fatigue that doesn't go away even after resting, there's a natural inclination to cut back on activity or even avoid it altogether, thinking, "If it's harmful, I should take it easy." This is the most common mistake, because complete inactivity doesn't restore energy. On the contrary, it accelerates the weakening of the body, breaking down muscle structure, decreasing joint mobility, and impairing coordination and heart function. Muscles weaken very quickly without load, which is especially dangerous in old age, as their condition affects not only strength, but also stability, the ability to maintain balance, walk confidently, and stand up without assistance. When movement becomes too limited, it results in a loss of not just muscle tone, but also the very sense of control over one's body. And along with this comes an increased risk of falls, worsened sleep, accumulated anxiety, and a feeling of helplessness. That's why it's important to keep moving, but to change the approach. Shift from tension to rhythm, from quantity to quality, and from racing to reach step counts to engaging in mindful, gentle activities that nurture rather than deplete. This doesn't have to be an hour-long walk. It could be short 10-15-minute outings for fresh air with breaks on a bench. Instead of a marathon around the neighborhood, think of a stroll in your favorite park where you can stop, sit down, take a deep breath, and enjoy the movement rather than feel fatigued. Rather than focusing on brisk walking, consider exercises that enhance flexibility and balance. Instead of striving for speed, embrace smoothness, allowing your body to receive care rather than just exertion. Movement after 70 isn't just about staying fit anymore. It's about maintaining clarity, joint health, breathing, circulation, and, most importantly, inner confidence. I can do this, I control my body, and I'm not afraid of movement. This kind of activity, even if it seems less impressive on paper, actually offers so much more. Not pain, but ease, not wear and tear, but the maintenance of life in a body that craves not heroics, but attention. What can you do instead of walking a lot? Here are 5 beneficial alternatives that make for a wonderful replacement. Giving up exhausting walks doesn't mean giving up movement. On the contrary, it opens the door to new, gentler, yet equally beneficial forms of activity that don't overload the joints and heart. Instead, they support health, flexibility, and inner energy, allowing the body to move with joy rather than effort. mini walks of 10-15 minutes, 2-3 times a day. By breaking up your activity into several short outings, you relieve your body from overload and achieve the same benefits without fatigue. A walk in the morning, another in the afternoon, and one more in the evening, with breaks to sit down and take a breath, works much more effectively than one long march of 8,000 steps. Chair or wall exercises. These simple movements strengthen muscles and joints without putting pressure on them, maintaining mobility and strength without risking injury to your knees or back. Heel raises, gentle bends, shoulder and wrist rotations, and stepping in place with support. All of these keep your body toned, even if you're staying at home. Swimming or water aerobics. Water alleviates stress on the joints and spine, allowing the body to move freely and gently. Even just 20 minutes of swimming or simple exercises in the pool can have a powerful effect, improving circulation, breathing, mood, and most importantly, eliminating the pain that often comes with walking on hard surfaces. Qigong, gentle gymnastics. It's not just about movements. It's a unique meditative practice where each gesture aligns with your breath, focus, and inner rhythm. These sessions enhance coordination, reduce stress levels, improve flexibility, and help restore a sense of inner balance, which is especially important in older age. Balance and breathing exercises. Standing on one leg with support, rolling from heel to toe, slow inhalations and exhalations focusing on the movement of the abdomen. All of these activate deep muscles, improve body control, and serve as a preventive measure against falls, sleep disturbances, and anxiety. What matters most is not the number of movements, but their purpose. Each of these activities doesn't require heroic feats, but with regular practice, they provide a stable, noticeable effect. Less pain, more confidence, a sense of lightness in the body, and clarity of mind. And if you replace the race for steps with these forms of mindful activity, you will feel your body respond with gratitude. Not fatigue, but a calm strength. How to determine your activity level. After 70. In older age, there is no universal number to aim for. The norm isn't about the number of steps or the duration of activities. Rather, it's about how you feel after moving and how you return to a state of rest. If you feel pleasantly energized, light in your body, clear-headed, and with steady breathing after a walk or workout, it means the activity was within your capacity and your body perceived it as beneficial rather than stressful. However, if you find yourself wanting to lie down, feeling heaviness in your legs, tension in your lower back, irritability, or insomnia after being active, it's a sign that you may have overdone it, even if your step count looks normal. Often, older adults compare themselves to how they used to be, forgetting that the recovery rate is different now. For instance, while someone might have easily walked 7,000 to 8,000 steps without consequences at 60, even 5,000 steps without a break can become too much after 75, especially with chronic joint issues, varicose veins, or fluctuating blood pressure. A simple guideline: if movement adds energy, it's beneficial. If it requires a long recovery time, it's already beyond your limit. The true benchmark isn't the number of steps or minutes, but rather how you feel in your body. Feeling energized, light, and pleasantly tired is good. Exhaustion, shortness of breath, swelling, and irritability signal that it's time to reduce the intensity. A pedometer can be very helpful, not as a tool for competition or pressure, but as a reflection of your own pace. If you find that walking 4,000 to 6,000 steps a day feels manageable with no negative effects the following day, then that's your safe range. If 8,000 steps lead to pain, restless sleep, and a feeling of being completely drained, it's time to rethink your approach rather than endure it or blame yourself for being weak. The most important thing is not to fit yourself into someone else's standards, but to establish your own, one that is honest, comfortable, calm, and based on respect for the body that has served you faithfully for so many years, and now only asks for one thing: to be treated gently, not faster or harder. Walking remains beneficial, but after the age of 70, more doesn't always mean better. The body becomes more sensitive to strain, and what once strengthened you can now lead to wear, inflammation, fatigue, and internal exhaustion. At this age, health isn't about numbers or pace. It's about the ability to listen to yourself. If your body is asking for a break, that's not a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. It's not a stop, but a transition to a different rhythm. The best thing you can do is to stop chasing after others' standards and start creating your own. Gentle, calm, flexible, with movements that energize rather than cause pain. Your body is not old, weak, or problematic. It simply lives at a different pace, and all it seeks is not effort, but understanding. Not tension, but respect. If you grant yourself this new, compassionate movement, life will once again feel light, fluid, and truly yours.